everyone, my name's Leo.
Hi, my name is Christine.
And we are blessed to be leading the pastoral team here at Glorious Gospel Church in Sydney, Australia.
We want to take you on a journey on something very special that's happening here in this church.
We know that church isn't about a building, it's about people, it's about building people. But after 32 years, we had function centers, RSL clubs, all sorts of different buildings, leased buildings. Now we get an opportunity to own our own property. It's like a stake in the ground, and we can use the building as a tool to disciple our city, this nation, and the nations of the world.
This is definitely a God-sent building, and we want to share with you why.
We were in a particular building that we were leased out in Five Dock. We decked it out, it was quite nice, doing well. Then we were given 10 months before we needed to vacate that building. Leading a church of a few hundred people, we're looking for the right space and building. You have to get council permission, parking. There's nowhere to be found, a proper building where we can house church. But 2 weeks after we were given notice, I got a phone call from a Christian agent, a friend of ours, who had a building, and it was perfect for us. It had to tick all the boxes. It was a function center, so it was licensed to have functions there. It had parking in the area. It had the right space that we needed because we needed enough space to grow. The person that owned this building was running a wedding reception business for 28 years. The fact that he wanted to sell exactly when we needed to find something. We felt it was like the eagle pushing the eaglet out of the nest because we weren't looking until we needed to look, but yet God was always bringing that provision. 2 days after we found this physical building, David Hagar, a good friend of mine who's also a prophet and leads a church in Melbourne, he gave a prophetic word. Leo, I just really believe double doors of blessings on your church. And I believe it's this season, even in COVID that we're in lockdown, I believe God has given you an opportunity to buy a building.
Yes.
And he got that in the middle of the night, got woken up by the Lord and SMS'd me. And I rang him and said, David, have you heard anything by anybody? And at that point, I only told one person. I said, have you spoken to that person? He goes, no, not at all. And that was a big encouragement, a big wind blowing on the sail.
I mean,
in our hearts.
This building has double doors.
Double doors everywhere, by the way. And just a number of confirmations like that.
We also had a word from Sean Bowles.
And I feel like God has anointed you guys, and your church is coming of age now. And I feel like you're going to watch the maturing process that's been going on with the people that you guys pastor. They're about to be deployed into the places that they're called to.
Remember Matt Sorger, he gave us a prophetic word 5 or 6 years ago about our building would be on a highway. We thought, what? On a highway, what does that mean? And we put it on a shelf in our minds. And then we remembered that word when we found this building on the Western Highway.
And to have all of us in agreement, our pastoral team and the team we're in partnership with, was a phenomenal thing, you know, to have that faith all coming together, linking arms together, saying, yep, this is it. But it doesn't mean to say that there's not going to be any giants that we're going to have to fight.
So after much negotiation, we agreed on a price of $11 million for the building, with 2 stages of the settlement. The first stage was to raise a 10% deposit by 2021, and the second stage was to raise 30% by 2023. We were able to get such a great price because it's a heritage listed building, meaning the developers would stay away. So the primary deposit was $1.2 million. We had $650,000 in our bank account for many years of savings. So we needed to raise $550,000. We had 3 months to do that in. I remember the beginning of those 3 months, I was like, Lord, is this going to happen? Are you going to do it? Like, there's that step of faith. The people were so generous. We were overwhelmed by people's generosity in the life of our church. And that was a miracle. We all gave sacrificially. God came through in a big way. And we signed and closed the deal in lockdown, took all our stuff, we put it in storage, emptied our bank account, so to speak, and trusting God on this journey.
Like I said earlier, we had giants to fight. That was one.
All of last year, we renovated this place, gave it new life. I mean, it looks a completely different building from the inside.
But the story doesn't end there. We want to give you a little bit more insight into how you can partner with us for the rest of the story.
So what is remaining? We have $1.7 million to raise by July 2023. This fight is not a fight for us, it's a fight for the next generation. It's to set up the church in the next generation and the generations beyond to help disciple the city, this nation, and the nations of the world. There's something about owning physical land. It's like taking territory for the kingdom, where you become the lenders, not the borrowers. So we really believe when the church is in a strong financial position, there is so much more that we can do when it comes to discipling the nations and equipping the saints and sending teams out into the nations, employing more people.
I mean, we've been going to India for the last 30 years. Currently, we're working into Philippines. We've also worked into Sri Lanka. It's not about gathering a crowd here. It's about equipping and training. The nations of the world are going to come into this place, going to be equipped and sent out.
We believe revival looks like impacting families, marketplace, businesses, changes schools, it changes universities, it transforms society. The great thing about this particular building is that it's a function center. We're engaging the venue to connect with the community. End of year dance parties and weddings and gigs and concerts, all sorts of things that we put on. The school formals come here. It's such a great bridge to connect with the community. We love the fact that we can connect to our city. And so this building is only a tool, it's only a physical building, but we need it to preach the gospel of the kingdom. It's easy to God. To God, it's nothing. We just thought we'd give people the opportunity that know us around the world, online family, friends of the church, friends of us, people that just got a heart for the kingdom, because it's a kingdom endeavor. You want to get behind the gospel of the kingdom and preaching the gospel and discipling the nations, then we want to give you this opportunity to give. Whatever's on your heart, whatever you're able to give. You know, we've got a lot of followers on Facebook, and even if people just gave $100 or $50 or whatever they're able to give towards it, they might think, what's that going to do when you're talking about millions? Well, you just give what you can. You give the 2 mites that God puts on your heart. If you're a multi-millionaire and you want to sow $1 million into it, go for it. That's the heart of kingdom thinkers, that we want to see the gospel go forward. So we'd love to invite you in this journey. We have been very touched and overwhelmed by people's generosity from around the world. So we want to say thank you so much for even considering and praying and giving towards this kingdom endeavor.
We love you guys, appreciate your support in any capacity, and look forward to sharing all the testimonies with you.